My guests today are the Ambassador of Guyana to the United States, His Excellency Beni Karan, and the Guyanese Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Mrs. Carolyn Rodrigues Birkette. Thank you both for joining us. Welcome to Carib Nation. As you know, the Caribbean, as a newly developed or new region, just 50 years of independence, are just discovering the importance of the diaspora. We now have a number of islands or countries in the Caribbean who are focusing on harnessing the resources of the diaspora. Guyana has now joined the pack, so to speak. Ambassador, you talked about this some months ago, brought it to our attention at the embassy. Give us a synopsis of what it is that your government is looking to do with the diaspora.
Well, we have many Guyanese who would come up from time to time who would want to find ways of contributing to the development of their homeland, contributing to different kinds of projects and contributing in different ways. And what the government is doing is putting a system in place to have those persons who are willing to be able to record their the nature of the contributions they would like to make, so that the government would have the data of what resources are available and where they're located.
Minister, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the process. We have Guyanese scattered everywhere, and of course with the advent of technology, we can probably do a lot more, a lot faster. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about what is the driving force behind the launching of this project? What is the ultimate that you want to achieve, and how do you plan to help Guyanese in the diaspora achieve that?
Well, thank you for having me. And the driving force behind all of this is because we look at migration through a different lens now. In the past, most countries, especially in the Caribbean, we looked at our people leaving as brain drain, as they used to say. But I think with the advent, well, not the advent, but with the advancement of technology and people being able to see where opportunities are, more people would move. And we have seen that across the universe. People are moving all the time. Mm-hmm. So what we have decided to do in Guyana is to look at migration now through a different lens, because regardless of where people go, home will always be home. Mm-hmm. And most times we find people want to contribute to their homeland. So wherever you are, whether you living in the United States or in the UK or wherever you are, and you want to be part of the development process of Guyana, we would like to get you involved in a structured way. Mm-hmm. In part because, as Ambassador said, people have complained that they would like to contribute, but they want to know where to go and how to do things. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we believe that in this globalized world, there is a place for everyone. And we believe that you don't necessarily have to return to your mother country to be able to contribute to it. And if you're willing to be part of that development process, we should facilitate you, because you're a citizen of Guyana as well. And so this is what this whole project is about. First of all, knowing whether you're interested. So you go online, you register if you're interested.
So that's a sort of a survey?
Yes, and you indicate your skills. Now, at the end of this survey, we'll analyze it, and that would inform our policies and programs that we'll put in place for the diaspora.
I see. Now, do you have specific policies or programs that you would like to target, that you want to guide this direction, guide this information to?
Not necessarily, but we have seen quite a number of retired Guyanese returning home, because already we have a remigrants program, we call it, where we give certain concessions to persons remigrating to Guyana. And the trend has been people that have attained retirement age, so they're coming back to settle in Guyana where it's warm. Mm-hmm. And we have also seen, though, some persons that are interested in business in Guyana. So, but what we hope is after the survey, we will really get good analysis of what are the interests of persons living abroad.
So you're going to wait until you have enough information
Yes.
to break that down and
Yes.
then categorize into where you might be able to
Certainly.
use those skills.
Yes.
One of the things that the diaspora, something that I have been concerned about for some time with the diaspora, and I raise this with others. You know, we have Jamaica, Barbados, who have had some success with creating programs. One of the things that I have been concerned about is a two-way sort of an orientation. My vision, or at least my idea, has always been, if we are preparing people, if people want to go home, that there's something here, and this is where I think I would bring in the embassy, that there's a program here to orient those people, because I think very often people have an idea of what they're going home. They forget that home has changed over the time that they have left. And so they still have this vision, this picture of what it is they want and what it should be like. But I often wonder if it wouldn't be helpful to have an orientation program to help to prepare mentally and emotionally those people for what they're going to find. Because if they've been living outside for 30 or 40 years, they become accustomed to certain things. And we need to remind them very often that we're going back to an area that does not necessarily provide everything that you want, and therefore there's some adjustment that's required. On the other hand, in the country, we have over the years I've heard many complaints that people say, we'd like to go home and help, but those people don't want our help. They think we're coming to take their jobs. They think we're coming to spy on them or whatever. And so there's a tension. And I often wonder why isn't there an orientation to those people? So that if someone is coming into your area, someone is coming into your hospital, someone is coming into your business area, construction or whatever, help those people understand what these people are coming to do, where they're coming from, what is their perspective when they come. And this, I think, will make the transition so much easier for people looking to move back. And I wonder what kind of a response or thought you have on that. I mean, I'm just a lowly journalist, but these are things that I've thought of based on information that I've been getting from people I talk to.
Yes.
Ambassador, you have any thoughts on how that might work?
Well, persons who approach the embassy to remigrate or to seek advice on remigration are certainly advised of the realities, and they are given information that would allow them to know what to expect. Mm-hmm. In many cases, persons who take the decision to remigrate have often gone down and had a look themselves. Mm-hmm. Those who have not are advised to do so. Mm-hmm. In terms of having a program, I have not seen the numbers that would justify us putting together a specific program at a mass level. But if there is need for that, the embassy would certainly be prepared to do that. Mm. But we do have a lot of advice and a lot of assistance that is available for prospective migrants. Mm-hmm.
I suppose with the growth of the thrust to bringing the diaspora back, there will probably be more of that across the Caribbean.
Yes,
do you have any thoughts?
Yes, there will definitely be, because we have launched this in Toronto as well, in New York, in London, and some of the very comments that you have made in terms of educating or informing the population back home is also very, very important. I think that I think home, though, people are changing their views as well. Because remember, most of the people out here, they have relatives back home too. So it's not as if it's new people coming in. And what we are trying to do back home and is also inform them about the program. And we've met with the private sector, for instance, and they have welcomed the initiative because they say it would provide a way for them to be able to find some of the much needed skills that they would like to employ in their businesses. But it's not just about that. There are persons out here who might just want to help a child They don't want to necessarily move back to Guyana. We need to be able to guide them in the direction where they can do that and where they will know that their resources are spent where it should be. There are persons who want to help the hospital. Already we have groups of people helping different hospitals. We must be able to facilitate that in a much smoother way. So there are different categories of people altogether. But I am very much aware of the sentiments too that you mentioned, of people saying, well, they're coming to take our jobs and things like that. So we have to ensure that all are educated.
I suppose with people traveling more also, there's a better understanding of what is happening on both sides of the aisle in terms of changes and that sort of thing.
Yes.
With regard to the focusing of pockets of information and pockets of help, do you have, and this is another issue that I've discovered over the years talking to various people, statistical information, documented statistical information that people can access to help them make their decision. Very often people are looking for detailed information to help them make a decision where they want to give their services or where they want to use their expertise, or even if they want to. How much have you been able to, I know that this is something the Caribbean has had to work on in terms of keeping statistics, records and that sort of thing. What would you say is Guyana's status in terms of how much they can provide in that area?
There isn't one place that you can go to get all of the information that you might need. But I guess if you're interested in investment, and we can put you in touch with the Go Invest in terms of what's the investment regime. But all of this we're trying to coordinate now. So in this whole diaspora program, there would be links to all these different agencies. But I believe that it's the most important thing to do is to come down yourself and see and make your own analysis. It's very different to reading the newspapers and going down and see what actually exists. Many persons have told me that what they read is different to what they see. And so I think we would encourage, if you're thinking about investing in Guyana or moving back home, I think you might want to come and visit first. And that's what most people do before they take that decision.
Informed decision. Do you have any comments or any suggestions as to, or any experiences in terms of being able to provide statistical information, or do you get much of a request? Many people requesting documented statistical information that they can use to help inform them in the embassy?
Well, we provide information on request, and we guide people through the remigration process up until their arrival in Guyana. That is advising them of what their entitlements are and assisting them to get the documentation through. And then on their arrival in Guyana, they take it up from there, because the remigration agency in Guyana is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are the same ministry. We don't keep statistics because people would like information on a very wide range of areas. But we would be able to find out what people, we'll be able to get information on, for example, employment opportunities in a particular region, or the availability of space for your children in school in a particular area, if you would let us know what it is you would like to have.
I see, okay. Now the International Organization for Migration is working with you on this. What is their specific role, and how are they helping the process?
Yes. Well, the IOM, they have a lot of experience in working on migration issues, as the name of the organization signifies. And they have worked with a number of countries, so we thought that instead of reinventing the wheel, we should try to get their technical assistance in this respect. So they actually have a regional office in Guyana, and so it's not just about Guyana, but the region as a whole. And what they are doing with us is providing some technical assistance to us in terms of the whole computer program that we had to get up and running for the survey. They're going to be working with us on the analysis. And as we go along, they might continue to support the program. But they have also indicated an interest in supporting a wider Caribbean program, and we have brought that to the attention of the Caribbean community as well. So it's not just about Guyana, but for this project, they're working very closely with us, and we're very grateful for their assistance in this respect.
Well, that brings me to another observation that I have, because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. Jamaica started this idea. I think Haiti really was the first one. They had a department for the diaspora, and Jamaica was next. Barbados has had a number of conferences, and I understand that Belize is also working on it. And my concern at the time was, how much are these countries talking to each other about best practices, experiences, ways to avoid some of the pitfalls that you probably will come across? And can you address that in terms of, or either at your level or the diplomatic level, either way, in terms of your collaboration and exchange of information with the other islands that are working on this?
In moving to where we are right now, we sought to seek experiences from other countries, and Jamaica was one of those countries where we got information on what they're doing. Mexico, even though it's at a much larger scale.
But they've been doing it for a while.
For a while,
Yeah.
So they provided us with quite a lot of information on this. And some other countries, we even had information from Israel. Of course, that's also a different situation. So we had a wide cross-section of information coming to us. And even with all of that information, we felt we need to talk to the people themselves to know what it is they're interested in. And that's why we're having this survey. So we don't want to formulate a program that would not fit the needs of the people. Yes. But I still believe that at the level of the Caribbean community, we should together meet to discuss this matter and see, as you rightly said, whether there are areas that we can cooperate and maybe even share resources.
What are the other purposes of your visit here this time?
Well, the main reason is to launch the Diaspora Initiative, but I also took the opportunity, and Ambassador kindly arranged for me to address the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States. Guyana is a member of the OAS, and we felt that it was important that I address the council, and in particular bring to the council issues that are of importance not only to Guyana but to CARICOM as a whole, having just concluded the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Haiti.
Right.
So I took the opportunity to speak to the council about energy, climate change, the whole issue of differentiation or graduation, which is really a worrying one for us. And so, and I also took the opportunity to meet with the Caribbean ambassadors in Washington. I think that as we move further and further to integrate our Caribbean community, it's important that we share views. And as minister, I think that's very important both ways. So I did that as well. And so those are some of the things.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yes.
There's the collaboration among the Caribbean community, Caribbean Diplomatic Corps. Let's come back to the issue of migration of the Caribbean. Barbados, I remember the World Bank had tagged Barbados, excuse me, as eligible to be graduated to what they call a first world country. And the concern at the time was the issues that small states face. And I think that is still an issue in terms of the restrictions to small states in terms of getting over this hump, so to speak. What are some of the obstacles that you see as a region, and what help are you getting, and how do you plan to broach that in the United States?
Well, actually, this issue of graduation, and sometimes the term differentiation is also used. What we were told is that in order to ensure that overseas assistance go to states that are most in need. The development partners would employ a construct called graduation, where central to the calculation of who should benefit would be GDP per capita. We are saying that GDP per capita does not tell the whole story. And you mentioned Barbados. If we use GDP per capita, then Barbados, Bahamas, and Trinidad would be high income countries. We all know that two at least of those countries are facing severe problems since the financial crisis. And of course, many of our other countries in the region as well. But it's not just about high income, it's about middle income countries. And so most of the countries in the Caribbean are middle income countries. We are saying that we have some peculiar vulnerabilities that must be considered. One, we're small. Two, we are more prone to natural disasters. One hurricane can wipe out your entire GDP, as we've seen in Grenada, where 60% of their GDP was lost. In Guyana, one flood in 2005 wiped out over 60% as well. It takes longer to recover. And we're saying that most of our small states are in a perpetual state of rebuilding. If you take a country like the Bahamas with so many islands, after Hurricane Sandy, they are again rebuilding. So we want the overseas, or I should say the donors and the international institutions to consider that our countries are should be in a special category. And in fact, it is a paradox in a way, because while we are seeing more severe impacts from climate change, we are now told that your GDP per capita is doing fine. So we don't necessarily need to provide all of this assistance to you. So this is why we raised it at the OAS, but we raise it at every forum that we attend at the level of whether it's CARICOM, at the UN, or at the CELAC. We've been raising this matter, and we hope that it's going to gain some traction at some point in time.
Yeah, this is something that has been on the burner for a long time. I remember when it was first raised, when we had a conference on small states, Ambassador Bernal of Jamaica at the time was the person really pushing in that area, and Barbados as well. So it is something that I think we have to keep in the forefront in order to remind the international organizations and the larger nations that, as we say, it's always the middle that suffers. The very bottom of the round gets some attention, the others can take care of themselves, and it's the same in any society. The middle class suffers, they get squeezed, and it's the same thing with those of us emerging from one to the other, but we're sort of middle sized.
But it's also true that the majority of the world's poor is found in middle income countries. And so it's not fair to say that you have graduated. In fact, I said at one of the meetings, my interpretation of graduation is always moving to a better place. This one is not taking us into a better place. But we are also saying that some of our international partners, I guess they themselves are facing difficulties after the financial crisis, and they probably want to reduce what assistance they give to countries like ours. We are saying let's work on that, but don't use a formula called graduation, because it can have a cascading effect into other institutions, and it would not be beneficial to us. Unfair.
We've got a few more minutes, but before I continue on this trend, I did want to go back to the diaspora and ask about the database that you are going to be creating and the security of that, because one of the concerns we have with giving personal information in this new wild technology world is protection. And I suppose the IOM will be working with you to assist in that. Now, how can those who are providing their information be assured? Is there some measure that they will be able to use to be sure that their information is secure?
Yes. Well, there is a view that once you put something on the internet or in cyberspace, it's not secure.
It's not secure. Yeah.
But we are trying our utmost to ensure that the information is secure. In fact, on the questionnaire, we've indicated that confidentiality will certainly be adhered to. We are not going to share the individual information with anyone, and so we would certainly try to ensure that there is no breach of that security. One of the things, in fact, one of the changes we made to the questionnaire, initially we wanted to ensure that persons put their name so that we can contact them if there's an opportunity or an opening. But then there were some persons who were not willing to do that. Again, I guess for different reasons. But we have put in place a mechanism where you don't necessarily have to put your name, but you can go down further. If you want to go further with the program, then you provide your email address so that we can contact you. So we've put some of those mechanisms in place.
Now there are stages. I suppose there will be people at various stages. You'll get those who want to stay on the periphery maybe and do just a certain amount. And then there are those who want to go all the way.
Yes.
Do you have a mechanism for being able to separate those groups so that we don't get a mishmash of one person who wants to go this far, whereas there's somebody else who only wants to stay here?
Yes. Well, we're encouraging people to complete the entire survey, but we are not discarding those questionnaires that are not completed as well.
Okay.
So we'll try to, in our analysis, take that into consideration. But so far, it's been going pretty well. We've had, I think the last I checked, we've had over 500 persons, and this was shortly after we launched it, that would have taken the time to complete the questionnaire, and a little bit less than that they started, but they did not complete it. So, but we think that with the information that we'll be able to garner, we will be able to put the policies in place. And there would also be persons that are skeptical, like you rightly mentioned. Why now? Why this? And that kind of thing. But I think we can address those as we go along.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking with you, and I think that the community now has a better understanding of the importance of the diaspora and how the Caribbean is working to bring that together. Hopefully we'll have a regional database eventually that we can let. Ambassador, thank you so much again for graciously accepting our invitation to join us and to join the minister.
Thank you.